Hey everybody, Nick here, and today it is about time that I do one of the most requested types of video I do on this channel, which is a collection update. Given that we are coming up to the end of 2023, as I show you a watch with the minute hand covering we're getting an auspicious start here. But anyways, it is the 23rd of December, and it feels like it's about time to update my collection overview. So I'm going to talk to you about the knives, the pens, the watches, and the other everyday carry gear that is a part of my personal collection. First off, I want to thank my Patreon patrons. They make this entire channel possible, and especially now as I move away from some of the maker-provided gear sort of situations and move towards just buying the stuff myself again, partly for time and partly because why not? I'm lucky enough to be able to do that. They're more important to me every day. So Patreon patrons, you're the very best gift I could get this time of year. Thank you for that. The other thing I want to do is just address ahead of time the very personal nature of this collection, right? Because very often when I've done these videos, I've gotten comments along the lines of, Nick, oh my God, you said that this particular piece was a gem and that it was you recommended it and you even said it was going to stick around, and yet it's not in your collection. And a lot of people view that as like, oh my God, the corruption, but it really isn't, because this is a very personal collection, right? And I, like any of us, have to make hard decisions. I really wish that I had the space and the money more than anything to be able to keep a copy of every piece I recommend, right? That would be an absolutely wonderful thing if I could pull it off, because, well, then I would have massive drawers full of pocket knives. But more importantly, it would be really nice and handy for the channel, but I can't, right? I'm not in a place, I'm a very lucky man. I'm sure that's going to be clear as I go through this, but I'm not in a place where I can do that. So I've had to make hard decisions, just like anybody. And more importantly, there are times where it's like something is incredible. It is great. It is among the best tools in the market, but something else is slightly better in that role. And for me, I try to keep things lean, and I'm not doing a very good job of it lately, but I do try, right? And so very often something may get replaced by something, even though I really like it, even though I really appreciate that thing. And sometimes I end up regretting that. That's okay, right? But, that's what's going on here. So you're not going to see everything that I've ever called a gem. That would take forever. Instead, what you're going to see is the stuff that at this very moment has stuck around. And of course, stuff comes and goes. If you look at my last collection overview, some stuff has left and, some stuff has arrived, right? It's a constant evolving process. But anyways, so what I've gone ahead and done is I've pulled everything up out of the safe. I've got everything right here within arm's reach, and we're just going to go ahead and go through it. We're going to start off with knives. We're going to do watches, then we'll do pens, flashlights, etc. And then, so let's go on ahead and just jump into it. And there is no particular order. Please do not infer any kind of ordering from any of this. Okay, we're going to start off with, in many ways, the knife that started the channel. This is the Spyderco Slige Bowie. This is the only one of these guys I have. The other one that came my way from the Knife Joy Blue Run ended up going for a charitable kind of thing. And by the way, a number of the pieces that you see here may yet still be up for charitable stuff, and we got a big charity event coming up here soon. I say we because I had someone else involved. So keep an eye on that in the next few months here. We are working on something on a massive, massive scale. So do keep that in mind. But anyways, this is the Spyderco Slige Bowie. This is an amazing knife, and to this day it is an amazing knife, and many people credit me with causing some of the hype for it, but it remains a piece that is incredible. And I really wish that Spyderco would just keep making these guys, because it is one of the best pocket knives out there, still in the modern era. And so the fact that this is in my collection should shock approximately nobody. Next up within reach here is this little guy right here. This is the Demko Knives AD 20.5 in titanium. I know what you're thinking, Nick, what about the AD 20? Well, it turns out that when you take a knife that is very, very good and you make it a little bit smaller and make it with blade stock that is of reasonable thickness, then it is absolutely a beautiful thing. And so this knife has actually replaced the full-size AD-20 in my collection. This is in the 3V steel, it's titanium, and I have rounded off the edges of the shark lock bar. That is the modification I've made here, and that makes it an order of magnitude nicer, frankly, to carry. That's something they should do from the factory. Keep an eye out for the review there, but this is a very nice knife, and especially once it's done at a size that makes sense for me, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Next up here we have the Winter Blade Co. Factor. This is one of the production versions. God, I love that thing. And this is one of the wildest knives ever, just because they're doing everything with magnets, right? Watch my full review. Watch my Gear of the Year video. This is a breath of fresh air in a pocket knife market that has been very, very stagnant lately. And so, obviously, it makes sense that this will be in my collection. And actually, I do have a custom older version of the Factor, right? This is the This is the Winneblade Factor. Didn't quite get that one. It flips a little differently than the factory one, but this is a custom version that I actually commissioned here, and it uses a very different locking mechanism and whatnot. And so, you know, it's kind of cool, right? And to see the evolution from this custom to the factory one, which I'm going to be honest with you, I like the factory one better. I think the mechanism is a little bit nicer. I think Winneblade Co. learned a lot between then and now, then and the factory one here. But at the same time, yeah, I am a big fan of Winneblade Co.'s stuff, and this is it's been neat to watch the evolution of this guy. So, anyways, those are a factor when you think about my collection. Next up, I have a couple of knives that are all, just go ahead and bring them up on there. One of the pieces of knife media, so to speak, that I'm a big fan of is the Knife Nuts podcast. Actually, here, let me grab this coin because it has a seagull on it, and oh my God. So this is, all three of these are Knife Nuts podcast editions of Brian Nadeau or Shot by Designs designs, right? We have right here I think that's the Micro Evo in a fancy Damascus steel. Here we have the Shot by Design Void Knife Nuts podcast edition, and here we have the oh, come on. Am I really about to forget the name of this knife right here during this collection? Either way, it is another Knife Nuts podcast edition. You can see there's the subtle purple, slightly different blade shape. I'm sure it'll come to me in like 20 minutes when I've moved on to something else. But either way, these are the Tempest. There we go. I think this is the Tempest. These are three different Knife Nuts podcast editions. Partly I have these because these are incredible knives. Like the Void is great. The treatment of the materials is great. There's a lot of joy here. This is a knife that's actually in a size I like, and this is a really nice front flipper, right? All of these are really incredible pieces. And partly I have them because I want to support, Levin and my buddies over at the Knife Nut podcast. They're great folks. And so, you know, it's a joy in kind of both ways, in the social way as well as in the knife-making way. And frankly, Brian Nadeau is one of the best knife designers out there working these days, right? So I'm definitely a big fan of his work, and I'm definitely a fan of the podcast as well. Next up is a rare bird, increasingly so. This is the Brad Southard Knives Mini Tolk. This is a knife that is an incredible piece. It really is. I had sent the detent back to be tuned by Brad Southern, and this was very early from the run of them, right? But this is absolutely a spectacular pocket knife. It has a super thin edge, has a very sweet action, very nice design, lots of internal milling. I sincerely regret that these are not more regularly available. Brad Southard does great work, and he's mostly focused on customs, and frankly, good on him. I'm sure he's making good money over there. But I really wish that these were available again in a production run because they are really remarkably good. And so this is a knife that is very, very hard to get these days, but is is incredible. Speaking of knives that are very hard to get, this is probably the hardest to get knife in the channel or in my collection because this is one of two. This is the TRM Atomic Tie. This is a knife prototype. This never actually existed. These days, we do have titanium handled. I don't have titanium handles for the Atom because they're pretty rare, and I don't want to, steal one from somebody who'd want one. But there are ones that have the screws in the handle, but this is a different design. This is a design whereby the titanium, the backspacer here is integral. This was a knife that TRM decided never to make. They decided that wasn't something they were interested in creating. And they ended up giving me this prototype. Actually, I think I ended up paying them. I'm trying to... either way. Just assume the worst. Call it corruption. I don't know. But anyways, the Atomic Tie is a knife that never actually ended up existing. But this is one of the prototypes, and it is a great knife. Right? In many ways, I think that the titanium handle version with the screw-on is, practically speaking, just as good. This has some neat construction elements to it, but I can also see why it would be a total pain in the neck to make. But this is definitely the rarest piece that's on my table right now, and it is a cool piece of knife-making history, even though it's a branching path. They never ended up going quite down. So this is a very, very cool knife, and it's one that I'm very lucky to have, and it's ended up been pretty neat. Here is the TRM Atom. Well, we're doing TRM here, Three Rivers Manufacturing, a little American company based out of Three Rivers, Massachusetts. So this is the Neutron. more specifically the Neutron 2 here, wearing a set of scales, of titanium scales. Here's another Neutron I ended up buying on the used market so that I could put a set of, I want to say, Desert Ironwood. I forget what the wood is here, but they're by Match Anderson, who has both a great name and a business making scales. And so, you know, since I like carrying both of these, I just ended up picking up a spare Neutron. Well, we're looking at other TRM things. This is the Nerd, the Titanium Holy Nerd, because it has a hole in the handle. Keep an eye out for the review of this guy coming up soon, but it turns out that when you fix the opening mechanism, it is a markedly better knife. And then finally, on the TRM front, here is the TRM Shadow. This is in many ways a gigantic nerd, much like myself. You can see here that these two knives are basically the same idea, just on a very different scale. This is one of the sweetest sliding bar style locks that I've ever handled. It's really, really nice in that way. And it's just a very good knife with a nice thin edge, really good slicing power. All of TRM's knives have very, very thin blade stock, which is a trend you're going to see over and over in my collection just because, well, frankly, it just makes knives cut better. I'm a big, big fan of that. But I'm a big, big fan of TRM more widely, right? I really like supporting not only American manufacturing, but also kind people. Marianne and Les are very kind folks. And frankly, folks who are doing a lot of things right with thin stock, all that kind of stuff. On occasion, though, I will screw people over. And this is a nice example of my having done so unintentionally. This is this right here is a North Arm Knives Skaha. And this is Skaha 2 specifically. And I say that I screwed these people over, mostly tongue-in-cheek, but I released a video about the Skaha relatively early in my channel's history, but at a time where I didn't know the kind of following that I developed. I wasn't really clear about that. And I praised the Skaha. I said this was an incredible piece. And unfortunately, ever since that video, they've had like a year-long wait list or something, because they just don't make that many of them, and they are very, very, very good. The Skaha 2 is just as nice. They've since gone away from a step design on the blade, which honestly, I prefer the stepping. I think that looks really neat, and it's a cool idea. But nonetheless, this is an amazing knife, and I still feel very badly for what I did to the North Arm folks. I'm sure they're doing fine, right? They're making lots of knives, and they're still doing the kitchen knives and things like that. But I'm sure working under a wait list is a little bit problematic. But I still love this knife, and I still carry this knife, and it is still one of the better actions out there. And it's still absolutely worth picking one up if you get a chance. But you might not get a chance for a little while. Right here, this is a Spyderco PM2. And I know what you're thinking, Nick, a PM2? Well, actually, I have two. I have PM2 of them. This is, of course, size comparison. Spyderco PM2 here. And what we're going to see here is that this is a 110V PM2 wearing a fancy set of scales from RG Custom Machine Works. And fact is, when you put a fancy set of scales on a PM2, you end up getting all the cutting power of a PM2, which is substantial, and you end up getting a very high-end luxury-feeling sort of knife, which I very much appreciate. And as a result, this becomes a knife that I actually do carry. It overcomes the size of the PM2 to be something that is nice enough that I'm just like, yeah, I want to carry that. Yeah, I do. He's doing some Para 3 scales, and I think that might end up winning the day. But at the same time, this was nice enough that I wanted to keep it in the collection with these scales, and so there it is. Next up, this is the ProTech Malibu. This was a knife of the year from a couple of years ago, and this is a very, very nice piece. The original knife was actually a light blue when I got it, but the light blue and the dark gray here never ended up doing it for me, and so I had this guy basically de-anodized, and so now it ends up being a very nice gray uniform thing. Some people dislike that. Hey, whatever. But this is a very, very nice little knife here. The Malibu is a great knife. It remains a great knife. I really hope that they come up with some follow-ups to it of non-automatic, unassisted sort of flippers. I think that's a great thing, but this is a very nice knife, and it's one that I'm very happy to have in my collection because ProTech is another company that I very much enjoy supporting. They're folks that I think are really excellent, and they do great work. Actually, I'll show off the other ProTechs I've got handy here. Here is a ProTech Runt. This is the newest version of the Runt, and it is very, very good. And here is this is a ProTech Ultimate Custom, and this is a knife that won't be leaving my collection anytime soon. It's one of the nicest knives I own. it's very close to the nicest. I can't draw lines anymore. But it is a very, very nice hand-engraved version with a mother-of-pearl inlay here. And even they had engraved the channel gem in the knife, which is very, very nice. But this is a very, very cool little knife, and one I'm very happy to own. But ProTech, generally speaking, like I said, they're great folks. They're not so far from me. I could be at their headquarters in an hour and a half driving if I wanted to. Okay, it's L.A., 2 hours. Anyways, I digress. So, in a lot of ways, that's a beautiful thing. And these two are so short because California has a law that prohibits automatic knives over a certain amount. And so I try to keep those, I try to keep it mostly what I can carry. A couple of little exceptions in there. So those are, I believe, the ProTechs I have. There may be one other that I'm forgetting about, but we'll see. This right here is a Spyderco Nirvana. More importantly, this is a Nirvana that has been reground. It is ground down to a very, very fine edge. This is great because this knife was an incredible handle, just in need of a blade that made sense, and the regrind makes it make sense. And this one was originally reground by one buddy of mine and then owned for a while by another buddy of mine. Then it just came back to me eventually, but it's a really, really nice knife. It served as my only kitchen knife during our move out here because our movers screwed everything up in order and whatnot, but it is a nice knife, and it is absolutely something that does stick around for me. So there's that. Speaking of actually my buddy Sid, who has briefly owned that guy, this is a beautiful knife. This is a Grimsmo Norseman, and this one was originally owned by my buddy Sid, and he made me an offer I couldn't refuse, so to speak, to be able to pick this up. I ended up having the anodization color changed. It was, I believe, bronze when it got to me, but it is a Grimsmo Knives Norseman, and it is still an amazing knife. It's still a ridiculous knife, right? Like, at some level, it's a little wild, but wild is cool, right? There is so little wild out there that, especially in 2023, like the Norseman just feels more unique every day, right? And so I really do think that's an amazing piece, and I really do support the Grimsmo folks. John Grimsmo and Eric Grimsmo and their whole team do great work, both on YouTube when they have the chance to upload, as well as everywhere else, and they are the way that a lot of people got into knife making. And so it brings me a lot of joy to support them, and one of the pieces of actually Grimsmobilia, if you will, this was given to me by Sky, who is one of their employees and is also a great person, and it's just an absolutely, and Sky has been a fan of the channel, I gather, long before he was a Grimsmo person, which questionable taste, but hey, whatever. Thank you, Sky, nonetheless. But anyways, so I'm a big fan of the Grimsmos, and actually, this is my other Grimsmo piece at the moment. This is the Grimsmo Saga. This is their pen. You can see, same little Norse dude in the corner there. This is a pen that actually does get regular carry for me. Just having one of the best clicky sort of things going on. I'm a big fan of the Saga. So, anyways, the Grimsmos, generally speaking, I very much want to see succeed. I am definitely critical of them from time to time because, well, I don't agree with every decision, but at the same time, the love is there, and I still do have this Norseman, and I still do carry it. It's absolutely a wonderful knife. Okay, next up, we have the Chris Reeve Knives Sebenza. You might be thinking to yourself, well, Nick, didn't you have a Night Sky Sebenza? Well, I did. A Night Sky Sebenza, if you want to check my video, I think I have I didn't need another Sebenza video or something like that, was an absolutely incredible knife. This is Sebenza 21. This is the Doppler pattern. I had a Night Sky 31 for a while, and I ended up selling this guy to one of my patrons. Thing is, though, the realization I ended up having was that the Night Sky is a really nice knife, but the Sebenza literally means worker. Sebenza is, I believe, Swahili, not Swahili, I think it's Zulu for worker. Swahili is not the same thing as Zulu. Anyways, moving on. So we got ourselves the Sebenza here. Feels a little bit more reasonable to me in a working finish. It feels a little bit more reasonable to me in this original configuration. I like the Night Sky. It was a very pretty object, but I think I like this more. And given that I work with a lot of acoustic stuff, the acoustic pattern is a beautiful thing as well. I am not a beautiful any damn thing, but this is a beautiful knife, and I'm very happy to. When I decided about that, the Night Sky, I talked to the patron I sold it to, and I made him an offer, and he sold it back to me. Hey, thanks for that, Lump. But this is a beautiful thing. It's actually his name, Lump. I'm not just, like, downing on him. But this is a nice a knife I'm very happy to have back, and it's one of those if you love something, set it free sort of moments. So this is great. Speaking of knives that are not going anywhere ever, this right here is the Mnundi that was given to me by my viewers. I have a whole video about this, and I don't know that I need to retell the complete story, but I had a knife stolen from me, actually, in Las Vegas, and for whatever reason, a lot of my viewers, as well as a couple of other folks, Dr. Frunke, I know, was instrumental in all this, but this was given to me by viewers, and that makes it a knife that is very, very important to me. Extremely so, to the extent where on days of consequence in my life, if I've got something that I'm very, and this is going, by the way, this is going to sound completely insane, right? Like, but if I've got something going on that I'm nervous about, or that I'm, just like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a big day, very often this is the knife that goes in my pocket, because it just makes me feel the support, makes me feel the love, so to speak. And that sounds weird, but it's 100% true. And these things are as much talismans as anything for that. And so that is the role that this plays. If you look down and you see the Mnundi in my pocket, it's like, oh, what's going on for you today? But I also carry it just for joy sometimes, because it is an amazing knife, right? It is a perfect, in many ways, sort of fancy knife, and it's very nice to carry. It's a beautiful thing, but the way it came to me makes it even more beautiful still. So that's a nice thing. Okay, this right here is the Quiet Carry Drift, and this is a knife that is very, very, very good, and more importantly, it's in Vanax. It is completely rust-proof. When it has this second version with the thumb studs and a good detent, just absolutely spectacular. A little bit of texturing. This is one of those knives that could be my one knife. Right? If I had to just choose one at this point, it would probably end up being the Neutron 2, but the Drift is a very, very good alternate, choice, right? And they're very similar, by the way, and so that's probably why I have similar feelings. This is just a very good pattern, but the Drift here is just very, very good. It's completely rust-resistant. It is just a great knife. Broadly, it's great for travel. It's got a good steel. It's just, it's good. And so this gets regular pocket time, as you can see by the gunk and whatnot on the blade. And so there's that. Although it's worth noting, by the way, that I have recently gone through my collection just as I was doing something. I think it was on a conference call, and I just went through and cleaned a bunch of things up. So I've removed a lot of box residue from this collection already, but a couple still did get dirty. So this little guy right here, this is a Mitchell Clark custom knife. This is a gun stock pattern, but in a smaller size. Here, I'll see if I can't clean up the scale here. The scale on this is a carbon fiber that is edge cut, which is absolutely a beautiful thing. The action on this is incredibly sweet. It is great. I got on his books, I waited, and when I came up, he sent me this. And then technically this is just a prototype because he hadn't done this size before and wanted my feedback. And I said, hi, you're not getting your prototype back. Is that a problem? And he said no, and I paid him for the, for the prototype, and I'm still going to get a fancy one, which I'm a very lucky man. But nonetheless, this is a beautiful fit. By the way, everybody consented there. He was flat. Anyways, so this is a great knife. It really is. It's an incredible, again, sort of small, svelte, although it's a little bit on the thick side, certainly, but it is an incredible small knife. It has an action that is in the top, easily 0.5% of knife makers. I am very, very impressed by this piece, and yeah, this is one of the very best custom knives I've handled. So there's that. Okay, far from the customs, this is a Spyderco Delica. Size comparison. Spyderco Delica. And so what we're going to see here is this is about Delica size. This right here is a K390 Delica, as we can tell by the little bits of corrosion and pitting. Even though this has been treated pretty well, K390 does definitely do that, and we are not so far from the coast, so to speak. So this is a K390 Delica. Wearing these Flytanium scales makes it a very different sort of feeling. I desperately hope that RGM Same dude who did this will do the Delica. Oh my God, that would be great. But anyways, nonetheless, I like these scales enough, and I like the K390 Delica enough because it takes the Delica pattern, which has a nice thin slicey blade, and it gives it a steel that is worth a damn, and that is absolutely great. But I very much appreciate this, and this is a beautiful thing. These scales are from Flightanium, by the way, and yeah, the Delica is from Spyderco. So there is that. Let's see here. Okay. Next up, actually, we have two knives from Tactile. So Tactile Knife Co. Tactile Turn has been a pen company for a long time. Let me grab one of their pens real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Come here, Tactile Turn. Come on. Here's a Tactile Turn. So Tactile Turn is a company that's made pens forever and has done really good work in that domain, and they have moved into the knife game. And they've moved there in a very big way, right? They started off with the Rockwell, not Rockwell, but Rockwell flipper here, and then moved to a thumb stud version. And the thumb stud version gets a lot more carry than the flipper version, just because, frankly, I think it's a little bit nicer in the pocket. It's a little bit nicer ergonomically. I prefer the thumb stud version. But nonetheless, the Rockwell here is an absolutely wonderful knife. They did a very nice job. It was my knife of the year, I believe, last year. And they just do very, very nice work. And so I'm very happy to have these guys in my collection. And I'm very happy to support a company made in Texas. That's a beautiful thing. So there is that. Let's see here. Next up, we have a California company, kind of, well, increasingly so. We have Monterey Bay Knives. I'll just throw all my MBKs on the table here at the moment. Is that all my MBKs? Yes, it is. So right here we have the, and all of these are actually designs by Ray Laconico. And Ray's work is actually something that's grown on me and changed a lot in my estimation over the years. This is the EWC. This is the EZC 1.5. This is the EZC 1.5 in a different set of scales. And this is the EZC 2.0. All of these are very, very similar knives. This one is a friction flipper sort of thing. This is a great knife, really, for legal reasons, right? If you can't carry a locking knife, this is a very good one because it's a safe one. It's got a great blade, etc. And it's just got a really nice, fun action to it. And then these guys are different versions of the EZC, which are really, really great knives. The EZC is a pattern who originally was like, this is kind of boring, but then I realized, oh my God, this is great. It's very boring, but that's in a good way, and with very thin, slicey blade stock, with a kind of no-nonsense carryable design. Pardon me. I just love the EZC, and I've come to appreciate Ray's work a lot more over time, which is good because he does a lot of it. He has a lot of designs with a lot of people. But my very favorite of Ray's work has been with Monterey Bay Knives. Let's see here. Yeah, there you go. There's their logo. They are Monterey Bay Knives. And they are a company that they are based up out of Carmel, Carmel by the Sea, California. And they have historically been working with overseas companies, but have recently been creating knives in-house. The Sea Otter is a fully American-made knife from them, and I'm planning to get one of those guys on the table. They're very hard to get at the moment, so I haven't been rushing and, want people to, jump in there and get them too. But anyways, I very much like Ray's work, and I really think that these are great. This knife right here, this is the EZC 2.0, and this is different in that this is a titanium integral knife, and this particular one has some engraving done by Bruce Shaw, which is absolutely great. It's another one of those very, very nice knives, and frankly, it's a good piece, period. I think the EZC 2.0 has been discontinued broadly, so I never ended up doing a review, but I did absolutely end up picking one of these guys up, and yeah, and then I like these two different scale options. I'm going to be honest with you, I probably will end up doing something with the, probably moving this guy along eventually, because I think I just prefer the carbon fiber one, but I like this design enough that I've got it a few different times, and that's absolutely a beautiful thing. So the EZC and Ray Laconico's work and MBK's work more broadly is something I very much appreciate, and something I'm very happy to have in the collection here. Put these guys down. Okay, next up, we have, this is a weird little piece. This right here is the Spyderco Native. This is a fluted Native in carbon fiber. You can see there is actually a sunburst kind of pattern on the scale. It's a little tricky to see with the carbon fiber, but it shows up in some lights. But this is a contoured handle here. So it is not just flat. It is carbon fiber, so it's incredibly lightweight. It is the native pattern, which is a great thing. And it is S90V, which is an amazing steel. Oh boy, that's right. I stropped this up recently. That's sharp. So this is a very, very nice knife. It's very good in the hand. It's ergonomically amazing. This is an Eric Glesser design predominantly, and Eric is now the CEO of Spyderco, and this is one of the best knives that they've ever made, right? I really like the Delica. I really like the PM2. But this particular configuration, the native with the carbon fiber, etc., is just great. It's light, it's easy, it's carryable. It's just a really incredible pocket knife, even though I'm dropping it on the floor here. But this is just a very, very good knife, and it's one that after a while I kind of realized, like, that's so good. How do I not have one of those? After handling it a bunch of times, and so I eventually ended up talking, I believe, with Cutlery Shop, and they just happened to get one in, and I was able to grab it from it. It was a beautiful thing, but yeah, this is a difficult. This would be a difficult knife to get rid of just because it is so damn good. The first one I got for review was a charitable thing. You know, when I got a review sample, it goes back out for charity after, so I couldn't keep that one, but I'm glad I got one to keep. So there's that. Okay, next up we have this guy. This is the Civivi McKenna. This is a budget-friendly knife. I want to say this guy was 70 or 80 bucks. And we see the scales here are a brass, I believe, with a patina on it. The steel on the blade here is, I want to say, 154 cm. Yeah, it's 154 cm. It is a beautiful knife. This is designed by Elijah Isham, by the way. And Elijah Isham, for many, some of you may not know, ended up dying this year, which is a very sad thing. He was a young guy, about 27, and he was one of the best knife designers in the game, as far as I'm concerned, and did really great work a bunch of times, and this is one of those pieces. It's a small knife. It's very, very good as sort of a fancy carry option. It's a little on the heavy side with the brass. Certainly the balance is like here, which is a little ridiculous, but at the same time, the design is good. The edge was thin. 154 cm is solid. I have a couple of his pieces, actually. One of them is the Arrakis, which is sort of a slightly more carryable everyday version of, and this looks a lot like a Geth ship from oh, come on, Mass Effect, which brings me joy. And then there is the complete ridiculous version. This is the Drescaton. This is a full dress version of the WE Knives Eschaton. Not for sale. This is something that ended up buying at a show with Elijah there. I ended up buying one version. My buddy ended up buying this one. And then eventually there was some switcherooing. And yeah, so this is... I'm a big fan of Elijah's work. It's one of the saddest things in the knife community this year is the loss of him, not just as a person, but as a source of great designs in the future. So this is the McKenna, the Arrakis, and the Eschaton. I hope somebody's going to come up who's going to be just as good, but it's going to be a little while. And so I'm a big fan of Elijah's work, and look forward to, look forward to seeing who carries the torch of really crazy ideas out there in the knife world. So there's that. Okay, let's see here. What else do I have that I haven't grabbed yet? On the knife front, we're far from done, by the way. I want to be clear. Next up, we have the, this is the Spyderco Dragonfly. This is a great little knife, and it's a great little knife, right? This is a knife that I really recommend a lot for travel because it's going to be legal in a bunch of places. It's lightweight, it's easy, and it's not that expensive. This happens to be one in ZDP. ZDP 189 is a very nice steel, but you can get them in a bunch of different things, and it's just great. It's also a very good first knife. I know very little about parenting, but I know a lot about knives, and this feels like one that would be pretty good for a kid who's finally, of an age where that's appropriate. Of course, talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about with small humans, but nonetheless, this is generally speaking my recommendation because it's very safe, it's very easy, there's a lot of good gription for them. A lot of people have different opinions, but this is just a great knife for travel, 100%, and it's a knife that I still regularly recommend and regularly carry, so that's a beautiful thing. Here's another knife that is, this is a new addition for the year, I believe. This is the Baby Banta. by We Knives. No, maybe this was last year. I'm sorry, by Civivi. This is designed by Ben Peterson. Ben Peterson is the Weog here. Well, you may have known him from the Blade HQ videos back when. What is up, guys? Really, really stoked about everything all the time, which I kind of envy, right? I wish I could be as excited about anything as he is about everything, but, you know, hey, whatever. But this is a very nice knife in and of itself, and when I saw this particular version with the green and the blade done as it is, I found it very attractive, and I just like the knife. I think it's a very good, compact sort of folder. It's very easy just to toss in the coin pocket of your jeans, basically. And actually, I have one other by Ben. This is the Civivi. No, this is the full-on We Knives Bantha. This is the first full-size version, but it's wearing Space Kitty scales, and honestly, I like the scales on this more than I like the knife. It's a fine knife, but the fact that he's willing to make Space Kitty scales tells me everything I need to know about him, right? And I think that's great. It's a tongue-in-cheek level that does not happen that often in the knife world, and it's something that absolutely needs to be a thing. Next up, we have a knife that is completely and totally useful in every daily situation, and that is, of course, this little guy right here. This is the Cricut Provoke Mini, the small version of the Caswell Morphing Karambit knife. This is really great if you are suddenly attacked by a bunch of carpet and need to cut it. But it has, this is the clip, such that it lifts off here. This is a knife that I will probably never actually carry, but it is one of those pieces that is so wildly different and innovative, and CRKT has done it very, very well here, that, you know what, I have to support it, and I have to appreciate it. This is completely different than anything else, and that's great. And we need folks like Joe Caswell, who's the designer of this guy, to keep doing things like that if we want to see the industry move forward. Copycats are not teaching us anything. This is not a copycat. Oh, my God. So this is a piece that I have in the collection, mostly just as a reviewer, mostly to be able to say, hey, do something different. But it is still a very cool piece, and I think it's an interesting part of knife-making history because it is one of those something is brand new here moments. Let's see here. What else do I have in here? This right here is a Gerber Fastball. If any of you have seen my Gerber tour, my factory tour, I actually assembled this knife on Gerber's factory floor there. They engraved it ahead of time, so feel free to read Corruption as much as you'd like. But this is a very, very... the Fastball itself is a knife that has a lot of potential. It's a very, very good design. They're still working on implementation. Hopefully they figured it out by now, but Gerber is a company that's trying to move some of the manufacturing back to the U.S., and they're trying to regain some of the ground that they've lost by shifting to a crappy products made overseas model for a little while there. And I really respect that a lot. But this is, for me, more than anything, this isn't necessarily a knife I'm going to grab and carry on a daily basis, but it is, especially, you know, how thick it is behind the edge. I sharpened it up a little bit, but this is a knife that reminds me of an experience that was a positive one, right? It was cool to see, to do a factory tour there, right? It was cool to, you know, assemble it there, you know, that's neat. And so for me, at least, that's why this is in my collection, and that's why it's staying. Not so much because I love the Fastball, but because it reminds me of something that's a bit of joy there. This right here, Ferrum Forge Archbishop 2.0, I believe. Right here, Ferrum Forge. And this is a knife that is designed by the Ferrum Forge folks. Do I have any other Ferrum Forge? I do. I have this guy, their budget knife. This is the Stinger. And is from my sort of budget category. But it is really good. But both of these guys from Ferrum Forge, these guys are based out of San Diego, actually. So not so far away from where I'm at. And I ended up picking up this guy very specifically here because this is, I reviewed one of their custom Archbishops way back when and really liked it. And more specifically, that knife was sent to me by my buddy Jim. And those of you who've been around the channel for a long time will remember very nice, well, okay, I remember him fondly. You probably just remember the words. And thanks to my buddy Jim for sending this along. My buddy Jim is a wonderful human, just generally speaking. And although I don't have nearly enough time to email back and forth these days, and I'm sorry about that, Jim, I still got one in the inbox. But anyways, he's a joy. And he helped get the channel started by loaning me generous, huge amounts of gear, right? If you are a person who comes across a channel and you like the kind of work that they're doing, send them gear. Just loan them stuff. It's a beautiful thing. And it gave me enough content early on that I was able to, just review some of the stuff he was sending. And it allowed me to get to the place where I could move on and, start buying more stuff on my own, he really did start the channel in a lot of ways. And so as a small token of my gratitude for that, I ended up getting a pair of these made more or less identically. This is one of them, and then I sent him the other one. That just brings me joy, right? This isn't a knife that I carry all the time. It's frankly big, a little heavy, but at the same time, it is nice, and it has that personal connection to my buddy Jim, and that to me is a beautiful thing. So this is the Ferrum Forge Archbishop, and that's why it's there. Pena knives. So this right here is this is the Rayot X Series. I believe this is the Zulu here. And then I actually have a custom Pena, which I'll go ahead and show off right now. It's the Pena Knives Front Flipper Trapper. And these guys are both by Enrique Pena, who's a great knife maker. Oh, actually, that's right. I have the Caballero around here, too. Give me a Caballero. There we go. So this is the Caballero, same dude, Pena Knives. Dude based out of Texas, but he's having the X Series knives made overseas by Rayot, and they're very, very good. His knife making is quite nice. His patterns are always sort of at that edge of modern and traditional. He's got a very nice aesthetic and sensibility here. The custom is beautiful. Absolutely very nicely made. Oh, man, I'm a big, big fan of that. And, I like Pena both as a human. He's a joy to talk to, very humble, very kind sort of guy. And I like his designs, generally speaking, because I think he kind of keeps one foot in the traditional world and one foot elsewhere. And I think that's great. I really like Enrique, and I really like his work, and all of these are pieces of his. This guy, I'll be honest, I keep around. I don't carry, I'm not going to carry this guy when I have the custom around, but I do keep this guy around for comparison, because it's a very nice example of a modern traditional sort of knife. So that's where this comes up. And then this guy, I don't know if it's going to stick around in the long term, but it's a very nice little front flipper. It works out pretty well. So I'll go ahead and I'll put those two aside there. Okay, next up here we have the WE Knives Synergy. This is the Mini Synergy, the 2.0, and this is a very cool knife because of how it is built. This is a single-piece integral pocket knife right here. And if you watch the disassembly video, you'll see that it's actually very cleverly built with a separate little trap door here that you can't even see because the machining is so good. But it's one of those knives that is... and frankly, it's a cool little knife to carry. It's a nice size, etc. It's not necessarily to my taste, being, all gray with an upswept tip. But it's cool. It's a cool knife. It's a really, really nice piece, and it's one that I'm very happy to keep around. Partly as a good example of an integral pocket knife, and partly just because, it's neat. There's a lot to love about that guy. Okay, next up here we have the Spyderco Man Bug. This is a dyed version. This is originally in HAP 40/SUS 410. It's a little bit sus. This was given to me by my buddy Sid, and actually I have sent this along. I got a Man Bug and Ladybug of paired numbers, and I have sent the Ladybug along to another friend of mine as sort of one of those paired gift sort of things. And so that's absolutely a nice thing. I'm a big fan of that, and the little Man Bug here. I dyed the scales. It was originally orange, and not my scene. But it's a little joy right there. Okay, next up we have this guy right here. This right here is the Protect USA. This is another Protect. Damn it, I should have brought this on the table. The TR5 assisted knife. This is not an automatic. If I press the button while the knife is closed, nothing happens. In fact, it has a neat little system to ensure that. But it is a very cool knife. It is my absolute most tactical knife. But yeah, it's a cool piece. It's ridiculous. It's fun. It's tactical. It's high speed, low drag with a glass breaker and everything. I'm not a particularly tactical person, but if I was, oh boy, this would be the choice. But it is legal in my area as well, and it's a nice contrast, right? Variety is the spice of life, and insofar as I have variety, and tactical is one of those varieties, this is probably the peak of it in my collection. So there is, of course, there's that. Speaking of tactical, and speaking of ridiculous, This particular knife has a story. My Patreon patrons are wonderful people. I mentioned that at the start of the video, but they are also occasionally cursed. And this is a nice example of that. At one point in time, I forget how this even came about, but a group of patrons decided that they were going to have some fun and bully me with money, which does tend to be the approach, and which I'm very grateful for. And they got together and went on Benchmade's Customizer and created this. This is a Benchmade full-size barrage, and it is, they even had this engraved on the back, and that wasn't an error that Benchmade made, I want to be clear. That's exactly what they had put on there. The funny thing is, this is half serrated, which, LOL, and they went for the steel upgrade to M4, so this is a completely ridiculous knife. I actually got a call from somebody representing Benchmade in this and asking basically, really? Should we cancel this? Is this a thing? And I said, nope, this is just my patrons showing their love. And indeed, I feel the love. This is a knife that I carry this. I will admit it. When this knife comes in my pocket is actually very often when I'm doing home improvement stuff, because the Tanto is a very nice approach. M4 is a very tough steel. It's very good for getting in there, doing scraping kind of tasks. And that way I'm not seen carrying it outside the house. Oh, sorry, said the quiet part loud. No, look, this is another one of those pieces that is never for sale just because it means... Oh, it means many, many things, but it means a lot. And so it brings me joy, and it's actually a great tool separately, right? The barrage here is not my style by any stretch of the imagination, especially not this one, but by God, it kind of is. So that brings me a lot of joy, and this is a piece that is in my collection. Okay, this right here is not my knife, but I'm holding on to it for a friend. This is the WE Knives Streak. This is, it's not mine, Mom. I'm just holding on to it for a friend. Sorry, I just realized how sus that sounded after. This is, no, but this is my buddy Connor's knife, and whenever he wants it, it's his again, but for the moment, it's living with me, and that's a beautiful thing. And yeah, this is another one of those that is beautiful because of the social relationship it represents, and frankly, it's a great knife, too. I think they do well to re-release the Streak at some point in time. So there is that. This right here, of course, is the Sandrine Torino in the carbon fiber handle. They lost the Milwaukee red sort of handle. And this is a, oh, come on, tungsten carbide blade. And with the Snek Tan recoil lock style thing here. And it's just great. It's a great knife. I still don't love this finish. Oh boy, do I not love this finish. And frankly, for most days, I'm going to end up carrying this, which is also from Sandrine, also the same kind of thing, with a beautiful mirrored blade. But this is a non-locking knife, so there are days where I might throw this in my pocket still. But it's a great knife. It's a great example of innovation in materials within the knife world. And yeah, I think it's pretty neat. Sandrine's a company that's doing some interesting stuff, and I really do love seeing them trying different things. And hopefully the next different thing is different blade finish. So anyways, there is that guy. Next up, we have the Olamic Wayfarer 24/7 or 247. It's all good. This is one that I actually just bought from Olamic straight out. I'm on their mailing list, and they did like a drop, and I saw this, and it was like, oh, yes, that's kind of cool, because it has the Timascus, it's got really cool patterning, it's kind of got an outrun aesthetic. This is the only proprietary pivot that I am willing to countenance, so to speak. And even then, I'm barely willing to. Come on, guys, get with the program. It's 2022. But anyways, it's a cool piece with the perlage all over it, with the nice backspaces, etc. It's a neat piece, and the Tanto here looks great. I'm a fan. So, and this was actually my knife of the year, I think the very first time I did knife of the year. And so, yeah, it's a cool piece. So there's that. Speaking of Olamic, here is the Buska right here. So that is the Lamic Buska. This is a special version, so to speak, with a Damasteel blade. The one thing I wish about this knife desperately is that it was thinner behind the edge. The grind on this is not so impressive. I've tried to thin it out a little bit by sharpening, but it's a knife begging for a regrind. But, you know, aside from that, this is a Buska that I had to replace the one that was stolen in Vegas. But it's a cool little piece, absolutely. I also have an Lamic Whippersnapper, but the Whippersnapper is currently on loan to my buddy Tony, along with my Oz Machine Co. Roosevelt, which is a knife that is very, very good, but is also very, very in demand and very, very hyped. So Tony has both of those knives at the moment, but this is a cool little piece, and the Whippersnapper gets more carry than this guy, I'll fully admit that, but they're both pretty great. Okay, anything else in that drawer? No, okay, next drawer down we have Booze Blade Smoke, one of the original versions. Really nice piece. Booze has been moving into custom stuff now, which is really cool. But this is one of the earlier mid-tech sort of things that is, you know, self-published sort of knives. And it's a very nice piece overall. It's got a lot of joy to it. The Smoke is a great little folding steak knife, which is funny because I am a vegetarian. This right here is the Cricut Homefront in titanium. This is the very best knife Cricut has ever made. And it is cool partly because it is, well, a nice piece. It's by Ken Onion, who's a designer I respect a great deal. It also is, for a disassembly freak, the absolute perfect pocket knife because it is able to be disassembled without any kind of tools very easily and quickly, like so. And that's kind of a cool thing. It's the field strip technology, and this is the 1.0 version. The new, some of their new models have even cooler field strip technology, which I have one of in the other drawer over there, but that knife, there we go. Let's get that back together here. Oh, it's reverse threaded because I'm just to torture me. All right, and then keep threading this down. Oh, no, going the wrong way. Hashtag not a brilliant man, and snap this together, close that. And we are back together. It's a cool thing. It's innovation, right? It's something that is a little bit different. It's something that is a little bit interesting, and it's something that I very much appreciate and hope to see more of in the knife world. But this is, like I said, the very best knife that CRKT has ever made, and it's one that I'm very happy to have stick around. This is the Buck 110. Am I ever going to carry the Buck 110? Absolutely not. Do I need to have one as a knife reviewer? Absolutely yes. It is as much a culture as it is a pocket knife, and it is a formidable pocket knife. I'll freely admit that, but it is also a boat anchor, and it is ridiculous. But you know what? Still, gotta have one, right? We have right here... What else do we have? We have an H1 Salt. This is a beautiful little... I'm sorry, this isn't the Salt. This is the... oh, God, what is it? Maybe it's the... Looks like a crocodile is what it is. I'm forgetting the model name of this guy, but it's like a salty bug or something like that. I don't think that's the model name, but it probably should be. But it's a little baby knife in H1. This is the only knife in H1 I own now that we have LC200N as well as Van Axe and whatnot. It's kind of an obsolete seal, but I keep it around for that. We have ourselves the Ritter Mini RSK by Hogue. This is an incredible knife. It is very, very well done. It is the best instantiation of the Griptilian idea that is out there, and it is, yeah, it's a beautiful piece, and it's very easy to carry. It's very nice. It's contoured, and yeah, I like it. It's great. And Doug Ritter is a great guy, and frankly, he's a friend of the channel. He's been always a kind force, and I appreciate some of the work he does with knife rights. And so, yeah, that's that. We have ourselves a Benchmade 940. This is a touchstone in the knife community, right? A lot of people talk about the Benchmade 940, and justifiably. It's a great knife. And so the 940 here is a very nice way to go about, well, it's a very nice knife. It's beautifully done. And is that something I carry a lot? No. In practice, it's a little long and it's a little thick behind the edge, but at the same time, it's fine. It's a nice little knife. This is a good instantiation of it. Spyderco Delica in LC200N, in case I ever want to go kayaking or something. A nice choice, in case I ever want to. Not when I go kayaking, I'll use this guy. But it's a very good rust-proofy sort of knife. It's very visible, that kind of thing. This is more one that's sort of situational. But that is exactly what this is like. collection 4. This is the HEA Designs Chief right here, which I have failed to front flip because I am not a brilliant man. But it is it's a beautiful little knife. A little basic in some ways, but you know what? Basic is good. Basic is because pumpkin spice can taste tasty sometimes, and succulents and neat. So anyways, but it's a cool little piece, and it fits well in the pocket and fits well into my life. This right here is a Cold Steel AD-15. This is this is the last Cold Steel knife I bought, so to speak, before they got, I picked up before they got this. And this has a set of scales from a guy named Slashy Tones, I believe, on Instagram, who's been making them. He's a big AD-15 fan and has been making some micarta scales, so that's a beautiful thing. And, yeah, so it's a cool little knife. And, you know, it's innovation. Again, the Demko knives. This is the Demko's, the same folks who do the AD-20, right? This is the 20.5, but still, they do cool stuff. And they were probably the driving force behind Cold Steel's knife design for many, many years. So there's that. What other things have I not put in there? I have the TRM Neutron. The original version with the non-nested liners and whatnot. In practice, I'm always going to carry the new one, but this is stuck around because it's a point of interesting history, and it was one of my knives of the year way back when. It was very innovative to have thin blade stock, which is ridiculous. We have the CJRB Mini Centros, which is a really cool little knife and is pretty excellent just in a bunch of different ways. But this is a cool piece, and it's one that it launched, but only through the maker. I don't know what its ongoing status is, but I hope it's one that they bring to the market more regularly in the future. Anything else here? Yeah, this guy. This is the very, very first, this isn't the knife, but this is a reproduction or a modern version of the very first knife I ever had. This is a Cub Scout knife. I was a Cub Scout. I ended up moving to a different area that no longer had a branch of the Cub Scout. Well, moving to a school that didn't, way back when. But this is a knife. The Cub Scouts are it's the baby version of the Boy Scouts of America. So I wasn't able to continue in that organization. But at the same time, this was the very first knife that I owned of my own accord, very first pocket knife. I think I had a multi-tool maybe before that. But either way, this is just kind of awful in some ways, right? As a pocket knife, not so impressed. And the fact that they have locks on the bottle opener as well as on the awl, but not on the pocket knife, and the awl lock doesn't really work well because this is very poorly made, but not on the knife itself, which is completely ridiculous. Like, guys, that's... Anyways, this was the first knife I owned, though, so that is something to consider there. I have in my... Mr. Drawer. We have here is the... good Lord, this is an hour already. Oh, my God, I have a problem. This right here is the Hogue Knives Micro Incursion. They lasered it with a gem before they sent it to me, which was a very bold move, but it turned out to work out because it is actually a gem. It's a little out-the-front automatic knife, and out-the-front automatic knives are a little ridiculous in a lot of ways, but this is a cool little California legal version. It is not perfect, though. It has a lot of blade play and such, but that's very common in out-the-front knives. Every single one of them except, actually, this one. This is another piece that you haven't seen on the channel yet, but the video is filmed, and in fact, I may just drop it shortly. This is the Hawk Knives Deadlock Model C. This is a knife I cannot carry outside of my home in the state of California. That's not amazing, but it is the very best out-the-front automatic knife that exists. I've never handled anything better. It's a knife that has absolutely no play whatsoever when it is locked open. It's deadlock. It has an incredible action. It is just great. It is an absolutely amazing knife, and it is one of very few where I will say, I cannot carry this, but I want to keep this, and indeed I did. So this is the Hawk Knives Deadlock Model C. It's an absolutely amazing knife, and review is coming up soon. On to the much more legal front. This is the Tactile Knives Rock. Oh, I didn't pull out the... this is the Bayer, spelled Bexer, after a county down there in Texas. It is an incredibly thin, slim, slip joint style knife. It's great. They just did a really great job here. I'm really impressed with this guy. And, yeah. So this was my knife of the year, I believe, last year. And it's great. It's very nice to carry. It's very easy to carry. It's a beautiful thing. This right here is the knife I carried on my wedding day. It is a titty outy cutlery. Yeah, I know. It's a GEC Wall Street pattern with an easy open notch cut by my buddy Toad Sticker, who may show up in the comments. He's around still. But that's a beautiful thing. And it is, like I said, the knife I carried on the wedding day, so it's not going anywhere. This was gifted to me by a friend. This is an Oda, OHTA, knife, I believe. Yeah, see right there, Hiroaki Oda. I'm trying to remember the model number on it, but it's a little Higo Nakami style knife, and it's a beautiful thing. Let's see here. This was gifted to me by a patron. I'm a fan of Omega wristwatches. I'm not a fan of their pricing lately, but I'm a fan of Omega. And this is a knife that was branded by them. It's a Swiss Army knife, but under the Norman Morris Corporation, who was selling these around the time of the moon landing. So this is actually the guy who gave them this to me is perhaps the biggest Swiss Army knife collector I'm aware of. I'm sure he would dispute that, but certainly he's up there. But this is a beautiful thing. It was a very nice little gift, and it's got some history, and it's one of the oldest knives I own. It also has a caseback knife in there, which is a beautiful thing for opening watches up. But this is not a knife that I carry particularly regularly, but it is a very cool piece of history, and it's one I'm pleased to own. And let's see here. I think there are a couple of others. Yeah. Speaking of Swiss Army knives, this is the Swiss Champ. This is a ridiculous knife. I owned one of these way back when. I picked one up thinking, wow, this will be the perfect tool. Is it the perfect tool? Maybe not so much, but it's certainly a tool. And it is a good point of comparison, and it's an interesting one, and it's absolutely it's a beautiful thing. This is a knife that I will get around to reviewing one of these days. This is another Victorinox. I just, for whatever reason, mostly it's the steel, but I have bias there. But this is one of the Alox ones, and it's actually quite nice. It's been, I've had so many things on the table to review, it's been ridiculous. So those are that. And then, of course, the very best Swiss Army knife ever. This is the Nick Shabazz Swiss Army knife. This is available from Blade HQ, and it's, you know, full disclosure and whatnot. There's a small cut delivered to me from this, but mostly, I gotta be real with you, I'm amused that this exists. Like, I still, on occasion, have trouble believing that this channel has become what it has become. Like, I'm staring, literally, the Play Award is mounted over there, and it's still like, no, come on. And this is a physical instantiation of, like, this channel is a thing. And so it's still amusing to me every time I see that guy. I also have one from my buddies Frankie and Bird over at the Birdshot IV channel. Picked up one of theirs too, because it's a beautiful thing, and it just makes me smile every time. So there's that. I have a slip joint here from Serge Panchenko, who you will see a couple of his watches here shortly. But Serge is a nice guy, generally speaking, and this is a very nice little slip joint here. And then I have a Benchmade Proper. This is number 137 out of 1,000, or I'm sorry, out of 1,200. This is a gift from my buddy Sid, who is a gem of a human being, and the 137 means a lot to him. And so it stays around in my collection roughly forever. And then, of course, finally, is that finally? No, not at all finally. I have more. Good Lord, people, it's an hour in and I'm not even done with knives. Okay, we can get through this, I swear to you. Right here's the Holt Knives Spectre. Last but certainly not least, and not even last, here we have the Holt Knives Spectre. This is a knife that is ridiculous in every single way. It says Damasteel inlays, Damasteel blade, Damasteel clip, Damasteel inlay, and then titanium backspaces. It has a very sweet action, and I say that, oh boy, that's nice. This is a completely ridiculous and over-the-top knife, but it's one that I love, and it's absolutely a beautiful thing. We have, of course, the this little guy right here is the Spaced Out Bug Out by Colorful Filth, Paul Munko, who is the same Paul Munko who did the Kaiser Gemini recently, which is in my budget drawer. But this is an absolutely awesome knife. It is both, again, a nice reminder that knives don't have to be high-speed, low-drag taken seriously, but it is also a wonderful, I don't know if any of you are Ray Bradbury fans, but there's a story called Kaleidoscope. In the Illustrated Man. And by the way, if you are ever curious about science fiction, it's getting to be a little bit old these days, but the book, The Illustrated Man, is one of the very, very best books that exists. It's like 150 some odd pages, a bunch of short stories, but they're very, very good. Dark, certainly, and, you know, talk to your parents and whatnot, but it's very, very good. So this reminds me of that story, and I don't think that Paul actually knew about the story ahead of time, but it reminds me of that, and so that's a beautiful thing. We have, of course, the Herman Knives, and I have a bunch from Herman Knives, but I have now, this is my Herman Knives collection. We have the Vespertilio, we have the Full Dress Sting, we have the Ishtar, and then we have the Mantis. This right here is my Herman Knives family. As you can see, I have a type, but these are all incredible pocket knives. Herman Knives is among the best knife makers on earth at the moment. And, yeah, I'm a big fan at this point. I think it's pretty easy to say. But these are great. They just really are. Herman does amazing work, and yeah, there's really not that much more to say. It's just really freaking good. And to be clear, you know, the Vespertilio is more my size. The Sting is more my size, but the others are good enough that I still do carry them, and they still are a beautiful thing. What else do I have missing here that I haven't covered? Got a couple of fixed blades, actually, that are worth highlighting. Here, let me close that. Move these. Fixed blade-wise. Oh, of course, last but not least. Certainly not least. I'd just as soon not comment on that, so we'll go on ahead and leave. No, this is the original Z Hunter, the one without the stop pin, the one that came from the gas station and has become an unofficial symbol of my channel. I have such love-hate relationship with it that it's mostly love at this point. But this is in the safe, and that's a thing. And then fixed blade-wise, I do have some fixed blades here. I'm not a big fixed blade person. I want to fully admit that, right? And by the way, there may be a couple of others that I'm forgetting about here. But fixed blade-wise, I don't really do that much with fixed blades. I'm not a fixed blade carry sort of person. But there are definitely some fixed blades I really do appreciate. One of them is this little guy right here. This is the T.J. Schwartz Overland fixed blade. It's a great thing. It's in Magna Cut. It works well. It's good in the hand. It's big, but it's quite good. Another fixed blade that I really appreciate as I throw things around is the Monterey Bay Knives Field Trekker. This is just really nice. It's got a nice convex. It's got a very nice blade. It's sort of, it feels much more luxurious than anything called the Field Trekker has any right to, but it's quite good for the price. And I'm a very big fan of the design. It's another Laconico, which is great. We have this little guy, which is gifted to me by a, well, actually, no, I paid him. That's right, I made him take my money. This is a little Puukko by Oskari Taminen. He's a young person who's just getting into knife making. And this is a great little knife just to, you know, keep by the door for gardening and things like that. It's a little little Puukko. It's very nice, actually. It's beautifully done and, you know, made the sheath as well. And it's a really cool piece, and it brings me a lot of joy because Oskari is, and I'm sorry for butchering your name, but he's a viewer who I've been in touch with for a long time, since he was very young. He's not a particularly, I want to say he's in his early 20s, but he's, yeah, but he got into knives a long time ago and has now gotten into knife and axe and tool making, generally speaking, and I think that's a really cool thing, and it's an authentic Finnish Puukko from an authentic Finnish dude, so that's kind of a cool thing. It is a joy and is a part of my collection. And then two big guys right here. This is by Micho. This is the Damascus Heritage Knife, and this is what I would carry if I were a wizard. And frankly, in case I ever become a wizard, I've got this around. This is absolutely wonderful Damascus. It's just really, really cool. I think this knife is really neat, and that's why it sticks around. It's art as much as anything. And then on the other side of that, this is what I would carry if I became a cyborg in the future. This right here. This is another completely ridiculous knife, and oh my god, this was sold to me by Polish Custom Knives, and wow. Yeah, I think it pretty much speaks for itself, but it's incredibly, incredibly well done. And so, Yeah, so those are my fixed blades. And actually, right now, we are 1 hour and 7 minutes into it. So even though I said to you that I'm going to talk about watches too, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this video. We're just going to do knives for this chunk, and then we'll do a teaser. I'll drop the watch collection video another time. So anyways, there you go. I hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of the day. And by the way, just hold on. Let me end this on a wholesome note here. This has been a lot of flexing, kids, and adults for that matter. My goal, though, is not to do that. My goal is not to make anybody feel bad about the collection they have, right? I am a very lucky man. I've been doing this for many, many years now. It feels like, certainly. But I've been doing this for a while, and I'm in a position where I have the ability to pick up more stuff than a lot of folks, both because I do a lot of work outside of the channel and because I have the channel. I have Patreon, but patrons and such. But if you're looking at this and feeling badly about your own collection, that's exactly incorrect. Your feelings aren't facts, of course, and you're welcome to them. But at the same time, your collection, as long as it's bringing you joy, that's what's important, right? Be proud of whatever collection you have as long as you've chosen it consciously. And I have seen collections that are worth $100 that I am really, really impressed by, and I've seen collections that are worth $10,000 where it's just like, oh, that's just kind of tacky. Some of you may be thinking that right now, but anyways. So, don't feel badly about any of this, right? I'm a lucky man, but you can have a wonderful collection without spending a whole lot of money as long as you're thinking carefully about things and as long as they mean something to you. So that's the important thing, and that's the other thing to remember is the fanciest stuff isn't the thing that means the most to me. So anyways, there you go. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was wholesome. And I hope that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.